I want you to learn this by rote. These are the Prophet ﷺ, all his parents. It's mustahab to know it, but you guys should know it. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 19, 20. Huh? Oh, yeah, father of Mudar. I knew there was one missing. Thank you. So, now, Adnan, who is Adnan from last week? Yeah, but who is he? Reem? Do you remember Adnan? He is, yeah. Ibrahim's his 40th father. But who is Adnan in relation to the Arabs? He's not the ancient Arabs. Yeah, there's two tribes, Qahtan and Adnan. This is Adnan, the father of the Arabs that are also called Mudar. All right? Because Mudar branches into two great tribes. Right? You have Nizar, Ilyas. Yeah, that's right. Adnan, Ma'ad, Nizar, Mudar. Yeah. So, Adnan is the father of what are they called? Musta'riba. He's the father of the Musta'riba Arabs. And who's the other one? Qahtan. And what does Qahtan divide into? Good, yeah. Himyar and Kahlan. Himyar is the Yemenis, and Kahlan they're called the northern Qahtanis, including who? The most important. Huh? Banu Haritha. Who are they? Come on, you guys. Al-Aws and Al-Khazraj. All right. So that's Qahtan. Himyar, Kahlan. They're in Yemen. And then Kahlan, they go Bani Lakham, the Ghassasina. They're all going to come back in the Sirah, so you'll know what's going on. Why did they end up in Medina? The breaking of the dam. So they flee. All right. So now, Mecca, what happens in Mecca is Abraham. Okay, this is Abraham's journey. All right? There's two different opinions. The Christians and Jews favor this one, that he's in Ur. All right? Some of our books, though, say this is actually, it's a place in Turkey called Urfa, near Harran. Urfa, because they actually have the lake that supposedly he was thrown into. It was a valley that they put a bunch of fire, and they also have the menjaniq, the things that he was thrown into in their tradition. So Allahu A'lam, but they take it very seriously because the fish there, they don't touch them. And anyway, but here there's a place called Kotha, which is near Kufa, that's where supposedly in one tradition says Nimrod is the one that threw him in. It's different. Those are all murky. So he goes with who? Lut. and Sarah. And then they go to Hebron, which is now called Al-Khalil, all right, in Palestine. The Jews called Hebron, and the Muslims called Al-Khalil. It's right next to Jerusalem, and he splits up with Lot because the grazing. And then he goes into Egypt, and that's where he meets the Pharaoh's, the ruler of Egypt. This is around 2100, because they say he was born 2153. So this is around 2100. He comes back to Hebron when he's 85 years old. He has Ismail. That's his firstborn. Because in Egypt, Sarah takes Hajar, who was, in our tradition, she was actually a princess from one of the Egyptian royal families who was taken prisoner by the king of Egypt, all right, and then put into his household, and then she's given. So she's actually from a royal family. And she's given to Sarah, and then they go to Al-Khalil, and then from there, when he has Ismail, Ismail's a young boy. According to the Jewish tradition, she gets upset. And in the Muslim tradition, he's actually told to take her to Becca. Right? And so he goes there. So this is his journey. And then back to Hebron, and then to Mecca. And then this is probably what it looked like. Because see, these are the two hills, Safa and Marwa, right? And according to the tradition, she sees the water. She runs between them 7 times, and then she sees the water. And that's when, actually I think it's here. It's there. And then she finds the well of Zamzam, and then the birds start coming, and the Beni Jurhum come. These are called the Jarahima, they're Qahtanis. The Jarahima. Okay, so these are Qahtani Arabs, and they come and they take permission for her to settle there and use it as a stopping place for their caravans. And so they start doing that, and then you get, it becomes a caravan. You can see like camels coming in there. It becomes a caravan center. And what happens is Ismail alayhi salam, he comes, he's commanded by Allah, he comes, and I told that story, so most of you heard that, about he comes and says to the wife of Ismail, who's a Jurhamite woman, he asked her about the place. She said it's a horrible place, they have a wretched life. So he tells her to tell his son. She doesn't know it's his father, and he says, change your ataba, which is like your door, the entrance to a house. It's called ataba. And he said to tell him to change his door entrance, threshold. And so he divorces her, marries again. According to the Jewish tradition, it's an Egyptian. In our tradition, it's also a Jurhamite. And he grows up, he's an archer, which is what the Bible describes him as. And the Prophet ﷺ in many sound hadiths said that he was a rami, he was an archer. And so Ibrahim visits him several times, because when he takes him here, Ibrahim lives to be about 180. So these are over many, many years. And according to the Bible, both Ishmael and Isaac bury Ibrahim in Hebron. So they're still together, even at the end of his life. All right. So it's very clear that there was no cutoff. Abraham is still connected to Ismail. Mm-hmm.
Question. So why didn't either one of his wives recognize the prophet Abraham?
What do you mean?
Like he came to visit each wife, right? And that was how he decided which to divorce and which to keep.
Yeah.
So why didn't they recognize?
Well, the second one knew that he was somebody, because he didn't tell her who he was. He just showed up, and her husband was out hunting. And so he asked her, like, how are things here? And all she did was complain. Yeah, because he was testing the wife. He wanted to make sure that the wife was the right wife for his dua, because he knew from the loins of Ismail was going to come رَبَّنَا وَبَعَثَ رَسُولًا مِنْهُمْ. That the Prophet said, أَنَا دَعْوَةُ أَبِي إِبْرَاهِيمَ وَبُشْرَ عِيسَى. I am the answer to Abraham's prayer, and I'm the gospel of Jesus, like the good news of Jesus, what Jesus promised. So the da'wah of Ibrahim, which is in Surah Al-Baqarah, like he asked Allah, رَبَّنَا وَبَعَثْ رَسُولًا مِنْهُمْ يَتْلُو عَلَيْهِمْ آيَاتِكَ وَيُعَلِّمُهُمُ الْكِتَابَ وَالْحِكْمَةَ وَيُزَكِّيهِمْ. So, O Allah, send a messenger from them, meaning the sons of Ismail. Right? That's after he built the house. He makes that dua.
So Hajar and Ismail live aside?
Yeah, they live aside. They're on their own. That's why when Ibrahim leaves, because he leaves her there with some dates and one skin of water. He just leaves her in the middle. And when Allah tells him to do it and he sees Mecca, he says, Ya Allah, la zara' wa la dar'a. There's no foliage and there's no animals. Like, is this where you want me to leave them? It seems crazy. And Allah tells him that's where he wants to leave. And when he's leaving, Hajar says, Allahu amarak, did Allah tell you to leave us here? And he said, Na'am, Allah amarani. And she said, Idhan la yubayi'una rabbuna. Allah will never abandon us. So and that's why in the Psalms it says, it praises their trust in God, those who pass through the valley of Becca and make it a well. In Psalm 84, he praises their trust in Allah. All right? So he leaves, Ibrahim leaves, and that's when she starts getting anxious. It's human, because even though her belief is immense, her baby's crying, there's no water, she's starting to get anxious. And that's when she runs between the seven times. And then the angel comes, and the well springs up, and zummi, right? Take it from the water, gather the water. So she goes and gathers the Zamzam. And then people come, desert Arabs come when they see that the water's there, and obviously it grows into this small. In the desert, the most important thing is water, and so wherever there's wells, there's going to be people. That's the nature of the desert. And what's amazing, like when I lived in the Sahara, we would walk, because you have to walk for like a day, there's no water. There was one place on the way from Tuemrat to Geru. It's a rock, it's a giant, like what they call a kidya. And there's a crevice, and you walk up the crevice, and there's a tiny stream of water that runs down. And they know it, and they go and stop, and that's where they get the water. I mean, Arabs know every place where there's water, where they live. And so it's very important. That's why this becomes a stopping place for these desert Arabs. And then Ismail grows into a hunter and an archer, and he's a powerful man. So when Ibrahim comes, he tells him, but before, as he's leaving, Ibrahim says the famous dua, which is in Surah Ibrahim, where he says to Allah, Inni askantu min durriyati biwadin ghayri di zar'in. O Allah, I have left my dhurriya in a valley that has no agriculture, right? Anda baytik al-muharram, at your house. He hasn't built the house yet, but that's where the house is, because Adam built it. And then he says, رَبَّنَا فَاجْعَلْ أَفْئِدَةً مِّنَ النَّاسِ تَهْوِي إِلَيْهِمْ. Make the hearts of people come to this place. Right? The hearts of people. وَارْزُقْهُم مِّنَ الطَّيِّبَاتِ لَعَلَّهُمْ يَشْكُرُونَ. And then give them the blessings, the fruits of, worldly fruits, so that they're grateful. And that dua was answered, because since that time, imagine that. No agriculture, nothing. And he makes that dua. And to this day, people from all over the world go there. And then Allah says to him, when he says that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says to him, أَذَّن فِي النَّاسِ بِالْحَجِّ. Announce the Hajj. And Allah says, nobody's here, how can they hear me? And He says, announce the Hajj and we will make it reach everybody. And so He announces the Hajj. And every single human being that's ever been created heard that call. Every single human being. We heard that call. Allah, even the unborn that were in, predestined, they all heard that call. So that is a universal call to make pilgrimage to Allah's house. Everybody heard it. And only some will answer it, and some, because He said, اجعل أفئدة من الناس تهوي. Right? Make some of the hearts incline. Had He said all the hearts, they say that all the hearts would have gone. But He only said min al-nasi. Even though that min's a tricky min, it could be min al-bayan, it could be different types of min, right? Do you know min al-bayan? وَنُنَزِّلُ مِنَ الْقُرْآنِ. We reveal the Qur'an, but it says min al-Qur'an. Then you have min al-tab'id, partitive min, right? Some, like akaltu min al-khubz. So that min could mean more than one thing. So it just depends on how Allah interpreted it. It could mean more than one thing. So it could have meant all the hearts, but it could mean some of the hearts. And that's how Allah chose to interpret it, then that's how He answered it. So, and then He says, يَأْتُوكَ رِجَالًا وَعَلَى كُلِّ ضَامِرٍ. They will come to you walking, and on every emaciated beast, because the journey is so long. Even if you think about it, the fuel in the jet planes is empty by the time it gets there. So it's that exhaustion of the journey, right? يَأْتِينَ مِنْ كُلِّ فَجٍ عَمِيقٍ. They will come from every distant place on the planet.
So this is even before He built it?
It's before He built it.
Like the time when He went and dropped off
Yeah.
Ismail?
Yeah.
Were there any traces of what Adam and his son had built?
He knew it was there, and the black stone was in Abi Qubays, the mountain next to the Kaaba, because Adam had put the black stone there. It was white then. And then the other thing about the black stone, they said that it was it glowed. And where it glowed to is the boundaries of the haram. That's an opinion, that's mentioned in the books. There's no hadith about that. But that is mentioned in the tradition. All right, so now what happens, now we have the lineage. So if you remember, we have Abraham has 12, he has 2 sons, Ismail and Ishaq. And the first covenant, because he has 2 covenants, right? And the Bible mentions that, because the Bible says the covenant will not be taken from Judah until what? Harun. I told you that last week. Huh? The scepter of Judah. It won't be taken from them until what? Until Shiluah, which is one of the names of the prophet Shiloh. Shiluah. Shiloh. And they don't know who Shiloh is, I guarantee you. If you ask, like, Jews, who's Shiloh? They don't know. Ask Christians, they'll say it's Jesus. Shiluah. I don't know what that name means. Yeah, it's a name of the Prophet ﷺ. But I'll see if I can find out, because it's a good question. So, Ismail and Ishaq. Ishaq has who? Yaqub. All right, because Ishaq has Yaqub, and then Yaqub has Yusuf and Benjamin. So those are the prophets. And then it all spreads out from there in Bani Israel. And then from them comes David and Suleiman and Ilyas and Dhul-Kifli, Ezekiel. All of them come from that lineage. So that's the line of Judah. And then Ismail, we know that he was a prophet because Hajar was told to name him Ishmael. God hears him. God spoke. God promised Abraham because he was worried about, because Sarah had the child, he was worried about Ismail falling out of favor, right? I mean, that's all in the Bible. And God says, don't worry, I'll make him a great nation. In other words, he's going to have his own great spiritual nation as well. And then his sons, he has 12 sons, Ismail. Qaydar is the one, Banu Qaydar are the Arabs. And that's why in rabbinical tradition, if they say the Qaydar, they can mean the son of Ishmael, but they also mean the Arabs. And so in the Bible, you'll find Qaydar mentioned several times. And then between Qaydar and Adnan, there's 39, some say 37, but it's around that. And if you look, because Adnan is about, I think, he's pretty close to, I'm trying to remember the dating of it. How, let's see, there's 40, yeah, so I think he's like 500, 600 years. And between them, the 40 is 2,000 years. I think that's about right. What's that, 40 if you times that by 50, that'd be about 2,000, yeah. Right? Yeah, so it's about that. He's about 2,000, and then Adnan comes in around the time of Isa alayhi salam. And so you have Adnan, and Ma'ad is the next one, and then Ma'ad has Nizar, and Nizar has 2 sons. Who's the other son? Mudar, and who's the other one? Huh? Rabi'a. Important to remember that, because Rabi'a and Mudar have problems, right? Now, Mudar then also has 2 sons. And these are going to split the Arabs further. He has Ilyas, and he has a son called Qais Ailan. Qais Ailan. And Qais Ailan, you read about Harb al-Fijar, right? Remember Harb al-Fijar? Should have read about that. It's 3rd chapter. The war that the Prophet fought in when he was 14. Huh? Do you remember that? Because that was a problem between Kinana and Qais Ailan. All right, so there's tribal disputes going on. So then you have Adnan, right? So that's easy to remember, right? Adnan. Don't forget that. And then you have Ma'ad, who was known for his being ascetic. And Sayyidina Umar said, be like Ma'ad, tama'adadu. Because he used to walk barefoot on purpose. Like just to make his feet tough, so he could be tough. And then Nizar, and then Mudar. And Nizar was Hakim al-Arab. They used to come from all over Arabia to be with him. And then Mudar is the great father of one, because Nizar has 2. He has Rabi'a and Mudar. And so Mudar is the Prophet's called a Nabi al-Mudari. And the other group is Rabi'a. Okay, so the Adnanis split into Mudar and Rabi'a. The Mudaris split into Banu Ilyas and Qais Ailan. All right, that's how they split. And then you have Mudrika, who was another brilliant and known for his wisdom. Khuzaima, Kinana, and then An-Nadar. And Kinana also was, the Arabs had immense regard for him. And the Prophet ﷺ is called Banu Kinana. So this is the tribe that the Arabs associate. Like when they had the problem in the Harb al-Fijar, it's between Kinana and Qais Ilan. Got it? And why it's important is because when you have a tribal war, it's very important which father it stops at. Because all the sons after that are going to be involved in the war. Do you see? You got it? Because if you were a southern state, right, then all Texas goes with what during the Civil War? The South. Right? So if you were a southern state, you're with the Confederacy. And this is the same way. And that's why it's important where it stops. So that war didn't involve Khuzaima. Because Khuzaima has other sons. It involves the sons of Kinana. And then that war involved Qais wa Ilan, so it doesn't involve all of the Adnanis. Because Qais Ilan are like the Hawazin, Banu Sulam, the Sulami. You see that name a lot, right? And then Bani Thaqif, right, from Ta'if. These are the groups that are involved in Harb al-Fijar, right? So then you have Khuzaima, Kinana, An-Nadar, and then Malik, and then you have Fihr. Now Fihr, according to Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, Fihr is who we call Quraysh. And this is important because the Shia claim that Quraysh ends with Qusay. Now why do you think that would be important? Because look, here's Qusay. Okay? Let's see. Here's Qusay. Now if Qusay is Quraysh, what does that mean? Abdul Manaf, Hashim, Abdul Muttalib, Abdullah, the Prophet. So the Qurayshis are after Qusay. What does that mean? Huh? It eliminates Abu Bakr and Umar from Quraysh. And the Prophet said, Al-A'immatu min Quraysh. All right? You see how tricky this stuff is? That's why you have to understand this stuff, because it has real implications in the religion. Harun. Okay. Murrah has one son's name is Hakim and another son is Taim. Now what's Abu Bakr? A Taimi. So he joins the Prophet at Murrah. That's the grandfather they share. Who's Omar's grandfather? Ka'b. So here's where Omar meets with the Prophet, at Ka'b. So if you eliminate Ka'b and Murrah, and you say, no, Qusay is Quraysh, and the Prophet said, Al-A'immatu min Quraysh, that eliminates Omar and Abu Bakr. And so that's why Fihr is Quraysh. We believe that Fihr is Quraysh. That was his laqab, Quraysh. Laqab is like a nickname. His real name's Fihr, his laqab, nickname is Quraysh. Because the Arabs use nicknames and they use kunya. What's a kunya? Like Abu or, Abu Fulan. Like the Prophet's called Abu Qasim, Abu Zahra. That's a kunya. All right? So Fihr is Quraysh. Very important. And then Ghalib, Lu'ay, Ka'b, and here's the meanings of these names. All right? Adnan is something high. Like it's from Adan is Jannah, so it's a high celestial thing. And then Ma'ad is prepared. Nizar is something rare. Mudar is, it can mean a few different things, but one of the meanings is something that affects the hearts. And then Ilyas is the one who came after despair, because he didn't think he was going to have a son, and then he had Ilyas. Mudrika is the one who knows, like a scholar. Khuzaima is the rectifier. Kinana can mean a quiver, like a quiver of bows. And it can also mean hidden, because he had a lot of hidden secrets and treasures. Nadar is red gold. It also means light and brilliant. Malik is the possessor, because he was the first king of the Quraysh, Malik al-Arab. He was like a king over the Arabs. Fihr means a tall, flat stone. And then Ghalib means like the one who overcomes. Allah Ghalib. That was La Ghaliba illallah, was the statement of Ben al-Ahmar in Andalusia. And then Lu'ay, there's an opinion that it means it's from al-la'a, which is a wild bull. And then there's an opinion that it's, because it could be either one. It could be a diminutive, a tasghir of al-la'a, or it could be a tasghir of liwa, meaning small flag. All right. So, and then Ka'b is something high, right? The Ka'b is like the calf on your ankle is called Ka'b, right? Because it's the bump, it comes up. It's like and then Kawa'ib are full-chested women, because Ka'b is the breast when it swells with milk. So it's something that's full. It could also mean cube, but that's not what it means there. Murra means bitter, because the Arabs had a lot of regard for bitter things. And then kilab is, some of the ulama out of adab don't even put that. They'll put hakim instead. I actually like the fact that name is in there, because dogs were honored by the Arabs, and Muslims really give dogs a bad time, which is not really fair, I don't think. Because dogs had, they were really highly regarded by the Arabs. And Hakim, his name was Hakim, but he loved dogs. And he had a lot of hunting dogs, and so when he traveled, he would go with his dogs. So he got that nickname of the one with the dogs, Kilab. And some say it's from Mukalaba, to try to get out of that. But, that is the dominant opinion. And then Qusay is the one who travels in long distances in the earth, because he was a great traveler. Oh. Okay. Where to? Like that?
Just point towards it.
Oh, nice. Okay. Qusay, he mentions that Qusay told them to build themselves houses around the sanctuary. So before that, the Quraysh, and who is Quraysh? Who's their father? Fihr, good. And then Abdul Manaf, I don't know why that half is there, but he's Abdul Manaf. He was given to Manat to serve that goddess. According to, his name was originally Abdul Manat, but it was changed to Abdul Manaf. And Manaf is something high. So the servant of something high, like virtue. The Arabs use that word, Nawfal. They use Naif. Those names. Those are popular names in Arabia today. And then you have Hashim, which is the one that breaks the tharid. Yahshimu tharid. It means because he used to feed people. And so he was Hashim tharid. It's like the one who crushes wheat. And Darba Hashima is a really fierce blow. And then you have Shayba, who's Abdul Muttalib, Shaybat al-Hamd. And Shayba means gray hair, because they say he was born with the gray hair. And then he's the father of Abdullah. So there's the lineage of the Prophet ﷺ. You have it. And important to remember here also is that Abdul Manaf has two sons that are very important in the seerah. Who are they? Abdul Shams and Hashim, right? And Abdul Muttalib. And Muttalib, sorry. Muttalib is where Imam Shafi'i's grandfather. So he's a Muttalibi. Imam Shafi'i. He's a Alimu Quraysh, according to the hadith that mentioned the scholar of Quraysh. So Muttalib and Abdul Shams. Now Abdul Shams has a son named Umayyah, who has a son named Harb, who has a son named Abu Sufyan ibn Harb. All right, so you can see Abu Sufyan and the Prophet ﷺ are joined here with Abdul Manaf. All right? So he's directly related to the Prophet ﷺ in that way. I mean, they all are. You'll see, they all are. And then this is also Hind. All right? Because her father is Umayyah bin Khalf, right? Who gets killed at which battle? Badr. That's why she wants blood revenge for her father, because she's the cousin of Abu Sufyan. They're cousins. All right? And Umayyah was he was arrogant. He was an arrogant person. You know, he wasn't a very nice guy. And he was originally a friend of Abdul Muttalib's, but when Abdul Muttalib saw his personality, he saw him do certain things that bothered him, and then he stopped being friends with him. Okay, and then finally the Prophet ﷺ. Isn't that nice graphic? Wow. Huh? You want to see that again? Allahu Akbar. So there you have it. So I want you guys to know all of those names, all right? So that you can just say them. And if you know what they mean, even better. You might get out of the final. What? Yeah, just memorize them so you can go either way. Like you can say, Huwa Sayyidina Muhammad, Ibn Abdullah, Ibn Abdul Muttalib, Ibn Hashim, Ibn Abdi Manaf, Ibn Qusay, Ibn Hakim, Ibn Murrah, Ibn Ka'ab, Ibn Lu'ay, Ibn Ghalib, Ibn Fihr, Ibn Malik, Ibn Nadar. Right? And just do it like that. Ibn Kinana, Ibn Khuzaymah, Ibn Ilyas, Ibn Mudar, Ibn Nizar, Ibn Ma'ad, Ibn Adnan. That's one way. Or you could go the other way. Or both. If you go the other way, then you would say Adnan, Abu, Ma'ad, Abi, Nizar. Yeah.
The meaning of Ma'ad?
Ma'ad is like from, Mu'ad, something that's prepared. Because he was always prepared for battle. So, ista'idda yasta'iddu. It's from adda yu'iddu.